What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Football Diary. And in today's video, we are going to be previewing our game of the week, a game that we don't think a lot of people are going to be talking about. Something that we really want to try and do is preview these types of games rather than giving like full on, just like overall every game prediction. Just give like, hey, here's a big game that we really want to watch so we can talk about a little bit of the teams, give a little insight into the matchup. And that game would be the New Orleans Saints versus the Carolina Panthers at 1 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday. And before we even get into, kind of talking about the match and everything like that, we do want to recap these teams last week and how we thought about them. So we'll start off with the Panthers. Matt, we've loved the Panthers all off season. We loved what they've done. We called them the most underrated team in the NFL. I still stand by that statement. But what did you think about them? How did you feel about their first game, under Sam Darnold as their new quarterback?
I thought it was a good first step, a good step in the right direction for them. I don't think it was some amazing win. But they picked up the win week 1, and that's what you want to do in week 1 of the NFL season. I think you saw a couple of their strengths. One, you saw the pass rush all over Zach Wilson. Now, the Jets' offensive line isn't great, and then Mekhi Becton got hurt in the game, but you still saw Brian Burns, flashing. He could legit be like a 12-plus sack guy this year. He could be like a 14-sack guy. He could have a massive, massive season. So, like to see him flashing a lot of pressure in that game. Another guy that I thought looked really good was DJ Moore in this game. I like him. Number 2, that's what he wore in college. He is a very, very talented player. I like that he looked pretty good. His last couple of years, he started out the year a little bit slow, but this year he started out pretty good. Had a handful of catches, so liked what I saw to him. Robbie Anderson had a touchdown from Sam Darnold as well. You got to see their chemistry, and then of course McCaffrey, casual 200-yard game. Only casual because he does it every week. But then you kind of look at the offense, and I thought Sam Darnold looked good, but they didn't really put up the points that you'd want to see out of them in this game, in my opinion. But that's completely fine. This is Sam Darnold's first game in this system with this team, with this coaching staff. So it's going to take them a little while to get completely going, but I thought we saw the signs of what it'll kind of look like, because at moments they looked really dangerous, and they're picking up a lot of yards. And they have a really, really talented offense. So I liked what I saw of them both offensively and defensively, but definitely more on the defensive side.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this was a game that a lot of people looked at, between the Jets and the Panthers, and were like, oh, the Panthers should run away with it. We actually didn't really think that. We felt like it would still be a decent matchup, but we still felt like the Panthers would win, and that's what really mattered, whether or not they get that win. Get Sam Darnold that game under his belt, get Christian McCaffrey back on the football field. That's really all that mattered. That's really all that mattered, was getting the win and getting their guys back out there. And so, they're just going to have to build off of that and move forward, because this is a team that, they should really be trying to gun for potentially being in the playoffs, rather than the team that they've been in recent years kind of struggling to go week to week. This is a team that's trying to look towards January and things like that. But, on the Saints side, I'm going to start off with it, just kind of thinking, who else but Jameis? If you guys saw any of the Jameis Winston videos or New Orleans Saints videos we've done in the past, I talked about Jameis Winston. The dude is absolutely legit. He's one of the most underrated players in the NFL. He can go out there, he can make all the throws. Joining up with Sean Payton is going to make a massive difference, and it's exactly what happened. And then the defense balled out, and they absolutely curb stomped the Packers. And I think that surprised a lot of people, but that's also another underrated team that people just didn't recognize the talent of that roster. And even without Michael Thomas, that team is still very, very deadly, because they have a good defense, they got good weapons on offense, and they have Jameis Winston, who can make the deep ball. Drew Brees said it, in the post game, and he was just like, wow, is this really what the Saints have been missing over these last few years? Yes, it is. Being able to have your quarterback drop back and have the threat of a Marquez Callaway or, anybody on that team to actually go deep makes a big difference. And that just allows them to run the football more effectively. It allows it forces the defense to stay back on their heels, because Jameis can make the deep ball. And this is a team that is very scary to play. But, at the same time, that doesn't mean that this upcoming matchup isn't going to be great. But Matt, what did you think about the Saints, in week 1? How'd you feel about them?
I thought they looked really good. Of course, you're going to bring up Jameis. He had 5 touchdowns compared to 0 interceptions. So helping the ratio early on, Makana. That's what we like to see. But I like that you bring up a couple of these guys. Marquez Callaway, he had I think he had 2 catches. Michael Thomas not going to be back till at least a few weeks into the year. I think it was Deontay Harris had a big touchdown. I think that's his first time. I'm not 100% sure. Their kick returner though, the small dude, small shifty dude that is nasty as a returner. But he had a big touchdown. Now I think the biggest reason for Jameis's great day too, he barely threw like 150 yards. I want to say it might have been less, but he has 5 touchdowns because the Saints defense was amazing, and it should be expected to be really good. I don't know why. Like we had seen that in power rankings, the Saints were like 20th or like in the early 20s, and you can look at it and say like, well, you could have took advantage of that in Vegas. Vegas knew it was up. Vegas has the Saints as a playoff like expected team. But these power rankings and stuff pre-week 1 were like, oh, the Saints are like a bottom 3rd team in the league. What? No, of course not. They're going to be a good team. I wouldn't be surprised if they win like 11 or 12. So really like them in week 1 though. And I wasn't expecting that. I thought both these games this week for both these teams was going to be close. But I thought the Saints were going to lose, and I thought the Panthers were going to win. But I thought they were going to be close. But, dude, the Saints, oh, my God, they killed them. But they do have now, if we're kind of going to talk about this week, they have a lot of injuries. And the big one is Marshawn Lattimore is going to miss a few weeks, but they have some other guys on the injury report as well. So, but they're looking good. They're looking good. So, but what are your thoughts on this next game then? On this Panthers-Saints matchup of the week? Because I do think it's that.
Yeah, I really think it's going to be very interesting because I think in this one, we saw the good pass rush from the Carolina Panthers. Can they continue that? Because Jameis had pretty good time in the pocket. Zadarius Smith was not getting after him. I want to say he got a taunting or he got a big penalty, one that almost got him ejected if he got 2 unsportsmanlike conduct and things like that. Like he was sitting in the pocket. He had all day to throw. They're running the football. But at the same time, with these injuries that the Saints have on their defense, that could allow the Panthers offense to actually kind of take off. A lot of times when you see, if they weren't playing each other twice a year, it would be different. But since these teams are division rivals, that typically makes the games closer. And I think that people underestimate that value. But the Saints and Panthers have been playing each other twice a year under Sean Payton forever. And so, they kind of know what this offense is. They've played against Kamara plenty of times. McCaffrey's played against the Saints. So overall, it's just going to become, at the end of the day, who's able to make, more plays. And I think it's going to come down to the quarterback position, which is ironic because it's the 2 like comeback stories, like underdog quarterbacks in the NFL that people see as pick throwers in Sam Darnold and Jameis Winston. And I think that's something that really needs to be keyed into. And the fact that these are both guys that are, trying to bring a return to their career in another spot. And they're both in very good spots to do it. So the wide receivers for New Orleans or for, Carolina should be able to get more open than they, would normally do because there's no Marshawn Lattimore most likely. And so that just means that, DJ Moore, Terrace Marshall, Robbie Anderson, those guys, they could really have a big week because the Packers, as much as I love the Packers passing game, it's 2 guys. It's 2 guys. And then Alan Lazard, I like Alan Lazard. He's decent. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, really not good other than a deep threat. He's got bricks for hands. So like overall, it's really only
Mr. Randall Cobb.
Mr. Randall Cobb didn't come in until about the 4th quarter. I saw him catch a pass from Jordan Love, and I was like, oh yeah, he's on the team. Like overall, I just think that this is just showing like this is going to be a really good divisional matchup between these teams with good defense. I think it's going to be a bit lower scoring than people may expect, but in the 20s, we'll win this game, I think, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. It's going to be a hard fought game. But what do you think, Matt?
I think I'm pretty torn on who's going to win it. Now, I know the Saints are -3, but I feel like the Panthers should be favored just because the Saints right now are missing, let's see, Lattimore, Davenport, and Quan Alexander are like the big guys that they're missing, and potentially Gardner Johnson as well. So those are some good players. Those are some very important players on their team. They're going to need their offense to look very good. Again, I probably need a really big game from Kamara. Probably a bounce back game from Callaway because he only had, not really a bounce back. They just didn't have to use him last week. But like probably a solid performance from Callaway because I thought he looked really good early on, especially in the preseason. And so I think that he's one of those guys that's going to take a little bit of a jump this season, especially with Winston. being a quarterback that's more suited for his downfield threat, I'd say. But I don't know, man. It's hard to go wrong with the Panthers right now, I feel like. So I guess I'd lean the Panthers win, but I'm not confident in that. I would not put any money on this game. I'm actually going to the Niners Eagles game, but I might just come back and watch this one on Game Pass because I really want to watch this matchup. So I don't want to miss it. I don't think this is a game that you should miss. I think it's the best game of the weekend. I really do. And also to be fair, this weekend slate isn't that great, but I think it's the best game of the weekend. But who do you have winning? Do you have are you torn too?
I am a bit torn, but when in doubt, you gotta look at the quarterback position. When it all comes down to it, typically the better quarterback's able to win out when they're relatively evenly matched. And if the Saints were fully healthy, I wouldn't be saying that. But since the Saints are banged up, at right now, I think I'm gonna go with Jameis Winston and the Saints in winning this one. Just because Jameis has more of the offense under his control, he understands it a little bit more. I really am excited for the rematch between these two teams. I don't know exactly when it will be. Hopefully it's late in the season. But this could be one of those big-time games that I think it'll put the Panthers on the map. I think it'll really put the Panthers on the map because, they beat the Jets barely. That's not going to put you on the map. But I think if they play a team that just slaughtered the Packers really well, then I think people may look at this team and say, it won't be a win, but it'll be like a moral victory. Hey, the league recognized us. Similar to the way that the Cowboys went out and lost to the Bucs. Yes, they lost, but at the same time, people expected them to lose by way more. I think a lot of people, other than, Vegas, are looking at this game and they're like, the Saints are going to kill them. No, this is going to be a really solid game. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. But I'm going with the Saints just because Jameis Winston, that deep threat. But I will say, I think Christian McCaffrey has a monster day. Monster day for Christian McCaffrey. There could be 300 total yards involved. But that's
if McCaffrey gets 300 total yards, the Panthers are winning the game. Also, you said if it comes down to quarterback, and I'll say this, I think right now the guy that should be expected to be better in this game is Jameis Winston. He's been with Sean Payton for a full year now. I know he didn't play really last year, but he is learning the offense. He is understanding the offense. Sam Darnold, I think both these guys have tremendous upside over this season and future seasons with their team. But I think that Sam Darnold's probably he's a few steps behind because it's going to be a second game, very, very minimal time with the Panthers with Matt Rule, Joe Brady, that combo. One thing I do want to bring up, and then this is pretty much all I have after that, but after this game for the Panthers, because you said it could be one of those games that puts them on the map. Well, if they were to start out 2-0, then the rest of their schedule is the Texans, the Cowboys. And I know the Cowboys just looked good on Thursday night, but they just had a ton of injuries to their defense. Lawrence is out, Neville Gallimore, and Randy Gregory. Those three guys are their best linemen in my opinion. So those guys are all out. Then after that, the Panthers play the Eagles. Maybe a fluke win, maybe not. We'll see. The Vikings, they just lost to the Bengals, and then the Giants, and then the Falcons, and then the Patriots. They could start out super hot. So if they get this win, it's just going to bring all that momentum, and I think you're going to see them really put on the map because you're talking about the rosters. With these injuries to the Saints, I think that the Panthers roster is a little bit better, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Because last year, they just consistently improve, and their guys have just consistently got better. Last year, I wouldn't have said that. No way I would have ever said that 1 week last year. And their roster isn't there's not a ton of turnover, but it's just oh, look, all these guys have improved. You have Christian McCaffrey back. You have all of these weapons, this surplus. On the defensive side for the Saints, they're a little bit banged up. So I think it's going to be close, though, because if it is down the quarterback, I'd lean Winston. But if it's down to the roster and the core guys there right now, I'd probably lean the Panthers. So that always makes it a good game, I think.
All right, I think that's going to be it. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Make sure to subscribe. We're trying to get more consistent. Sorry, we're getting our schedules kind of, we live on the opposite side of the country now, trying to figure out exactly when to record and things like that. But we are still trying to bring out as much content as possible. And we're going to try and keep up doing this game of the week stuff and find previews and things like that so we can really talk about the players we like and stuff. But thank you, everybody, for watching. Subscribe for more current football content. We'll see all of you again next time.